Hi everyone, welcome to Art 101. This is Matt, and we're here again with another art lesson that you can take back to your classroom. Today's project is called Cappuccino Creations and involves some interesting materials that should be easily accessible. We're going to be drawing and painting on cardboard today, so you're going to want to keep an eye out for cardboard boxes prior to this project. The primary target audience for this project would be 7th through 12th grade students, but this project could also be easily modified for elementary students as well. For this project, I have students pick a main object as well as a background object, and I have them pick two objects that are not related to each other in any way. So for instance, in this case, we have a wrench that might be used by a plumber or a mechanic, and then we're having the object sitting down on a bed of grass. Having the hard metal wrench contrast with the green grass makes for some interesting subject matter. I'm sketching out the drawing with pencil first, then I'm going to come in with ballpoint pen to add value. You're going to want to have your students practice a value scale like you see in the upper right hand corner. It's just a good idea to have them practice this so they get the feel of how the pen works and how much pressure you need to add to get your darker and lighter values. I'm using an everyday ballpoint pen you'd find in your drawer at home. You might want to experiment with different types of pens. Some tend to glob a little bit more than others. Personally, I prefer the Papermate. It seems to be very smooth, but I know a lot of people who like Bic pens as well. So try as many out as you can to get the feel for what works best for you. Students should use a reference object or photo while they're drawing. You want to encourage them to draw what they see to capture as much detail as possible. I usually like to draw in the darker values first and then make my way to the lighter values. Varying the pressure on the pen will allow you to achieve the darker and lighter values. I'm working on the blades of grass now. I'm basically outlining the grass first with my ballpoint pen. As I outline the grass, I'm taking note of where one blade might be coming out from another one, where a shadow might be cast. When I start adding value, I want to make sure those hidden crevices are darker than the blades that are out in the sunlight. Since I'm having the light source shining directly down on the object, I want to make sure that any part of the object that's closest to the viewer remains lighter and has a lighter value, and any part that is farther away or dipped down in the crevices of either behind a blade of grass or the wrench has a darker value. This concept would apply to anything that you would draw, no matter what the object is, to achieve a three-dimensional look. If your students feel like their hand is smearing the ink, you can put a piece of paper down to rest your palm on. We're going to be painting our drawing now with coffee. I'm choosing instant coffee. Nescafe is the coffee of choice for today. But any coffee will work, and I would recommend probably finding the least expensive brand possible. If you don't have instant coffee, you can take coffee that you've brewed in a coffee maker, stale coffee will do, and put it in a saucepan and boil it down until it gets to a thick consistency. You can pour that into a jar and paint with that or add water to dilute it to get the value that you're looking for. When you're painting with your coffee, remember, don't cover every single inch of your drawing. Leave some cardboard showing to represent the lighter values. Before you add a second coat, make sure you allow the coffee to dry thoroughly. You can use a hair dryer to speed up the drying process. When I think of coffee, I think of the coffee rings and the splatter that sometimes happens when you drink coffee. So we're going to use that as a graphic element in this piece. We're going to use a brush and just tap the brush lightly and splatter coffee around the drawing. Make sure students put some newspaper down or scrap paper to keep their desk clean. You can choose to keep your drawing monochromatic with the sepia tone, or you can decide to add a little color to a certain portion of your drawing. I'm just adding a little green colored pencil on each blade of the grass just to add a hint of color. To add a little warmth to the green, I'm going over each blade with a little bit of yellow. We're now going to add white color pencil to our drawing, which is an important part. What this is going to do is going to bring out the highlights, the reflections in the objects that you're drawing. So basic rule of thumb is if there's a portion of your drawing that's closest to the viewer, you're going to want to add a little bit of white to make that stand out a little bit more. That's also going to make the shadowed parts sink back into the drawing, which is going to give you a more three-dimensional look. So you can see how the blades of grass are bending. So that bend is the closest to the viewer. So what I'm doing is adding a little white on that curvature of the blade of grass to show dimension. It's a little too much cardboard showing for my liking, so I think what I'll do is add a border with an irregular edge with my ballpoint pen. I've decided to do a darker value towards the edge of the border and letting it go lighter as it gets to the perimeter of the cardboard piece. You'll notice when you draw with black ballpoint pen that sometimes it gets a little bit of a shiny purplish hue to it. What I'm doing here is painting coffee over the top, and that mutes that purple tone and eliminates the shine. After the coffee is dried, I'm adding a little blue around the border. I've decided to add a little dimension to my coffee splatter by adding a little value with my ballpoint pen. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I think your students will come up with some creative variations. One thing you can do is experiment with tearing the cardboard as well, the top layer showing the corrugation underneath. This will add some nice texture. Here are some wonderful teacher examples from my last workshop. Hopefully this will give you and your students some inspiration to start creating. As you can see, you don't need expensive materials to create interesting artwork. I appreciate you watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. This is Matt for Art 101, and we'll see you next time.